Hello, gorgeous. I'm the Fairy Voice Mother, and today I'm going to be reacting to and analysing Somebody to Love by Queen live in Montreal 1981. Oh, I love Queen like everybody else on the planet. I've never heard this live performance though. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Somebody to Love live. Just in case you happen to be new here, then welcome. I love you. My name's Lolly and I'm a vocal coach. I'm also a vocal producer and arranger and songwriter and average bass player. So if you're into that, then you're going to have a good time. It's wonderful to see you here, and I really hope you're going to enjoy the forthcoming video that comes forth. If you just excuse me. Oh, I've come over all parched. All right, enough nonsense. He doesn't look real sometimes.
Anybody find somebody, can somebody find somebody love?
He does play around with rhythm and meter a lot in his vocal melodies. So it's really fabulous to hear this intro is like an amalgamation of all of the elements he uses to compose.
Can somebody find?
This happens later in the song as well, when he does, I work hard every day of my life. And obviously this intro is not in the original. This is something he's probably just sort of conjuring off the dome. Is that the phrase? Something to do with domes? I tried to be too fancy for my own good there. I think one of his most remarkable secrets is the way that he understands what the audience wants. He really effectively used that a cappella intro to feed the audience something and to get them to feed him something back in return. Here's this little thing for you. Do you like that? Yeah. Okay, well, you're gonna really like this.
Somebody.
I love looking at his neck.
Okay, let's do it.
Oh.
Each morning I get up and try to care when it's down on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry. Lord, what you do to me? I have spent all my years with you. I just can't get no relief from somebody.
So he's really overwhelmed his audience with high tension, high emotion at the beginning, and he's keeping it. He's started the actual song very high energy. The vocal quality is very full. Full and loud and high energy the whole first verse. Even when the notes get lower, take a look in the mirror and cry. It's all there. There's no like, what you do to me, like breathiness at all. And so I think he's using this audible feedback from the audience's continuous screams to fuel this decision. He just knows it's not time to calm them down yet. And so it's only in the second verse that we start to play with dynamics and he does calm them down a little bit, which is a perfect time to do it because we've just had that melodic climax of, can anybody find me? The way that steps up and then that note is suspended on the top. He knows that that melody combined with the rhythm, how the drums accentuate each of those notes as they step up. I just can't get no relief, is the perfect time for peaking. And once one has peaked, you can't peak on top of the peak. And therefore, he brings us down, and we start this second verse with a more relaxed vocal quality. We finally hear a little bit of breath come through the voice.
I work every day of my life.
A little bit softer. But then he doesn't bring us up gradually. He just slaps us in the face with those dynamics that we had at the beginning. All of a sudden, my heart don't pay all on my own. He just explodes. So much exploding. You can hear the audience like, ah!
I take all my heart and pay all on my own. On my knees, and I start to pray till the tears run down from my eyes. Somebody, everybody find me. Somebody love.
Oh, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. Of course, his vocal technician and stuff like that, but it's how he uses it. He seems to always use his talents to serve the purpose of entertaining an audience and to make them feel powerful emotions. He and Queen are musicians for the people, and that is so pertinent to me. So good. Oh my God.
Somebody love. He works hard every day, trying, I'm trying. Everybody wants to put me down. They say I'm going crazy. They say I don't want a lot of my words. I got common sense, got nobody left to believe. Yeah, 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 yeah. Somebody.
This is the other beautiful thing about Queen, is that their energies are all massive but in different ways. Like Brian May's guitar solos are so famous because they are so elegant and appropriate for the song. You never get the impression that he's just shredding for his own shreddisfaction. He always complements the composition. The parts are still very impressive and memorable, and that is a crazy, crazy amount of skill. It takes more skill to do that than to do something that's like bamboozlingly complicated, because it requires, again, emotional intelligence. They need to manage the audience's response in these songs. These are long songs as well. They're not like 3 minutes and they're over. We've already had 3 minutes and we're not even halfway through. And he's just got such a sweet, humble disposition. The way he sort of smiles like, oh, I hope you're having a good time. It just screams that at me.
He works hard every day.
I mean, that is absolutely 100% unfiltered grade A rock star. There's no interruption of these little rhythmic building chords. The mic thrower has been ruthlessly practicing the throwing of that mic at that exact moment. The way that he catches it virtually without looking, complete continuous motion. He just swoops up off the chair and struts like it was nothing. This Freddie Mercury gait, it isn't really a gait or a walk at all. It's a dance. That's why it's so iconic and why people can learn it and replicate it the way that they do in the Queen movie that came out a couple of years ago. Because it's a uniquely choreographed dance, just the way that Michael Jackson did. But his was obviously more blatantly a dance because it was sort of more sequential moves, but this looks more effortless than that, and that is just what makes him a rock star. It's just, oh, he's just so beautiful. When I watch him, I just feel these prickles come behind my eyes because I'm just watching someone so brilliant in every way. It's not about his voice or his moves or the songs, it's everything. And because he's so musical and capable of improvisation, I just feel this constant tension of you don't know what he's going to do next, and you're just in the palm of his hand when you watch him. One thing I want to draw your attention to is how these moves are choreographed in synchronization with what he's doing vocally. Have you noticed that every time he goes to hit a note that's either high in pitch or high in power, he roots down through his feet? So when he does, I try and I try and I try,
He works hard every day, trying, I'm trying, I'm trying.
notes that are big like that require stable breath pressure, and it's much easier to stabilize your breath when the rest of your physical stature is stabilized as well. What your hips below area can do for your voice is give you an anchor to then allow the hips above area, where your lungs are, where your voice is, the ability to expand and contract to produce the voice. Elvis did this a lot in his performances as well.
Should've heard him knocked out, damn bird singing.
The bottom half of the body is strong and engaged, so the top half can do the voicey production business. And it didn't stop there either.
Everybody wants to put me down.
Everybody wants to put me down with the legs. As the voice moves fast, it doesn't matter as much. But when he goes down, that stability is found again.
They say I'm going crazy. They say I want a lot of my words. I gotta come upstairs.
Another really cool thing about Brian May's guitar solos in general, but let's talk about this one, is that he always uses the vocal melody as a foundation and then just embellishes it. I spend my years believing you. It uses the same fundamental notes, ba ba ba, and the same pattern, ba 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 ba, but just more intricate. So it's familiar without being boring, and it's intricate and virtuosic without being random. That's fabulous. And then the even cooler part is he knows that Freddie is going to come back in now with the vocal melody, so he doesn't continue to take that guitar solo higher and higher and higher and more embellish. He starts to wind it down to allow him space to come in. Oh, okay, so it threw us down here.
Got the feel, I got the rhythm. I just keep losing my beat. I'm okay, I'm alright. I ain't gonna fight, stop a beat. I just gotta get out of this prison cell. One day I'm gonna be free.
This bit, so I just want to quickly talk about his tongue because it would be rude not to. You see this here?
I just gotta get out of this prison cell.
He does a really interesting bunching up and narrowing of the tongue to help assist his higher notes, especially when they're narrow. You can see the difference. E and then la. It's an extra layer of control that he has. He knows that the position of his tongue and the amount of strength that he puts into his tongue will affect the way that, not only the way the voice is produced, but the way that it's resonated, because the tongue is literally on top of the larynx. So effectively, his voice and his tongue have developed a really lovely symbiotic relationship, because when the tongue does something, the voice knows how to respond, and vice versa. And this looks different for everyone. There isn't really any golden tongue rules, any tongue golden rules. Is what I meant. There's no rules about a golden tongue for sure. Some voice teachers, for example, will insist on this tongue being flat at all times. And in my experience, that works for some anatomical types, but not for all. So this is a really cool example of him adapting to his anatomy to fuel his voice. I cannot wait any longer. I want this moment with you now. Let's go. Yay!
Everybody do it. That's right. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah! so strong. Ah!
Somebody love, find me, find me,
Oh, hang on a minute, I can't bloody see. It's just the absolutely coolest thing. This is so inspiring because you know what? You can't have this effect on people with musical skill alone. You just can't. You need to have a higher purpose of doing music and putting on shows. I really believe that. Any drummer or bass player or guitarist or singer will tell you that that little buildy section is not technically difficult to do, but it's not about that. It's the way that it's timed, the context of that within this composition, and it's the way that they slowly build that tension. They drive it in and it's constant, and then it builds and then it builds and then it builds and then it comes back. I think one of the things that makes a big difference about this section being so emotional as well is the guitarist and the drummer both doing backing vocals, especially Roger Taylor on the drums, because he's the drummer, which is like, you know, the masculine, heavy sort of part of the song. But then he sings in like a really high falsetto voice. Find me somebody to love. And they're almost chanting these lyrics together. And it just makes you feel like they all mean the song. Because sometimes a band can be like, here's the instrument players and here's the singer. Just the instruments are just there to support the singer. And some people say that about Queen because Freddie Mercury is so iconic. But I don't think that's true. I think little things like this, the fact that they always sing backing vocals and they're singing the main message of the song, like find me somebody to love. It's like they're all in it together and you can just believe them. Roger is also doing like an extra little syllable. He doesn't do it when he's on the slightly lower harmony. That extra syllable that he does in the me, somebody, it really does serve a purpose. It has a very significant function because that would be the stepping stone to the next section where it's like somebody, 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 somebody. And then that is the stepping stone to somebody find me somebody to love. So yeah, there is very subtly an extra beat added to each of those mini sections within a section. Sectionception. I am a little bit obsessed with Roger Taylor, actually. I love his voice. He screams and he just does loads of really shrill, high, powerful, intense vocals. I wish that he had a side thing going on with a metal band because I really think we could have done with that. I'm just going to point out one more thing, vocal technique-wise, in Freddie. You might have noticed that his posture is spectacular, and that has very, very distinct advantages. When he goes up for his note here on Love, notice how he leans back. Somebody to love, find. It's no mistake that his voice comes out with this rich tone and vibrato when he puts himself back here, because When we put our weight slightly backwards like this, the tummy switches on naturally to try and balance you. And that little bit of abdominal support helps the breathing. Plus, the movement of his arm back like this, that engages the lats, which are the big muscles over your rib cage to further support your breathing. Tummy's on, back's on, his breath is well supported. And simultaneously, he's dropping his big, beautiful jaw for love. In this big, beautiful space, the larynx has loads of room to move to create that fast vibrato. And it's well supported by the breath because of the other postural components. Oh, see? His voice is so good. Oh, yeah. Yes. I didn't know he sang in this. But just quickly as well, Roger Taylor's voice though, it's so unique and it's so technically brilliant, and he can do so much, not only with range but with distortion. There's so many different types of grit that he uses in there. Oh, told you Roger Taylor was a good singer. Bloody hell! Imagine actually being there. If you ever manage to get to see a Queen live show, let me live vicariously through you and tell me what it was like in the comments. I'd like to know. One more unspoken beautiful thing about Queen is John Deacon. Now, the reason that he's so magnificent and why the rest of the band are so magnificent is because they let him be himself. He's a lot more reserved than the other three in pretty much every way. And you just get the impression that they all just accept him for who he is, and they're grateful for his lying down of very strong, stable, brilliant bass lines. And that's his job, and he does it with freedom to be himself. And again, it takes an outstanding musician to know their function in a band and to make the band better, to the point where people don't know why you made it better, but they just know that the music was brilliant and you were in there doing something. He made arguably the most iconic bass line of all time. I think they were destined to be together, and they are a beautiful illustration of what different energies and different types of people can create when they work together, and that we shouldn't surround ourselves with an echo chamber with people that are all the same as us all the time, because brilliant, exciting things can happen when we accept other people for who they are and embrace their talents and amplify them. Freddie Mercury will always be one of my most favourite singers of all time. There is no one else like him. There are people that obviously sing like him, but he was much more than that. He was a pioneer, he was bold, he was brave. And to watch him is to watch someone that I feel had truly actualised his self-expression to its highest form. It's just an undeniable, unfathomable explosion of greatness. It's completely compelling and unique. I've never seen anything else like it. It's almost that time again, my fairy folk, to love you and leave you until the next video, but not before our oracle card, of course. Oh, would you look at that? And result. Well done, you. Doesn't that feel better? Working on yourself always pays off. You are on your way to no given freedom. Do not pass go. You are no longer playing the game. There's no self-imprisonment here, just living life your way. I promise I don't plan these. It's wonderful. Oh, crikey. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If there are any singers or beatboxers or vocal users of any kind you would like to see me analyse, let me know down below in the comments, or you can let me know over on Patreon. If you find your way over there, that means you can also vote for the performances you get to see me analyse every week, like this one today. It was chosen by you. I hope you liked it. If you managed to make it to today's premiere, then big premiere hug for you. If you're here at any other time though, big hug for you too. Have a wonderful day. I love you loads, and I cannot wait to see you again in the next video. Mwah. Bye. Queen, Somebody to Love, live from 1891. Oh, hang on. It's nice to meet you. Insert another one bites the dust. Oh.